Her skin glowed like molten stars under his trembling fingers. "Don't," she whispered, voice cracking like the first thunder after centuries of silence. "I can't control what happens when you touch me." But he already had, and the heat between them wasn't just hers anymore. The air around them rippled. The broken pillars of the ancient temple threw wavering light across her face, painting her blue-silver skin in fire and shadow. Commander Arlen didn't move. He was supposed to retreat, record the anomaly, and wait for the retrieval ship. That was protocol. But there was nothing procedural about the way she looked at him, eyes like deep oceans holding back storms. He had found her 3 hours after the crash. His pod had torn through the jungle canopy, its beacon flickering out before he could call for help. The world was silent, too silent for a living planet. And then he'd heard it, the faint hum of energy, like music vibrating through stone. It led him here, to her. She called herself Lyara, last daughter of the Treen. Her race once ruled the twin moons of Datha before they vanished into legend. He'd read the files, energy-based lifeforms whose emotions altered the molecular structure of matter itself. A single outburst of grief could turn oceans to steam. A single touch, if uncontrolled, could ignite worlds. Now she stood before him, wounded, the faint red veins of light pulsing beneath her skin. "You shouldn't have come closer," she said. "I couldn't just watch you collapse." "You don't understand," she whispered. "My body reacts to empathy, to kindness. It feeds on it." He swallowed. "Then I'll be careful. You already touched me." Her voice was soft, but the ground shuddered beneath them. "It's too late to be careful." A flare of heat swirled between them. The air shimmered. Arlen's visor went black for a second as the temperature spiked. Then it cooled again, slowly, leaving the smell of ozone in his lungs. She stepped back, wrapping the torn fabric of her dress tighter. "You're not afraid." "I'm terrified," he said. "Just not enough to leave." Something in her expression changed, a flicker of curiosity, or maybe longing. They sheltered in the temple as night fell. The structure hummed with residual energy, its walls were carved with spirals that glowed faintly when she walked near them. She explained that this place was once a sanctuary, a place her people came to balance their inner storms. "We were taught that emotion is a star," she murmured, tracing a glowing symbol with her fingertip. "Beautiful, until it burns too long." Arlen watched her fingers move, light trailing in delicate arcs. He realized she wasn't afraid of her power, she was afraid of herself. "How long have you been alone?" he asked. "Time doesn't move for us the way it does for you. But I remember your species rising from your first colony ships. I remember the first human radio wave touching our atmosphere, a heartbeat of noise in the dark. I thought it was beautiful. So you listened to us." "I dreamed of you," she admitted, then quickly turned away. "But dreams are dangerous things for my kind." Arlen leaned back against a pillar. The stone was warm from her presence. "Why dangerous?" "Because they make us feel. And when we feel," her voice trembled. The lines of light along her arms flared, racing toward her heart. He could hear it, the pulse, like a song beneath her skin. She closed her eyes, steadying herself. "Please. Don't speak." The more emotion in the air, the harder it is to control. So he sat in silence, watching her glow fade back to calm. Outside, twin moons rose, one crimson, one pale white. Their light slipped through the broken roof, bathing them both in color. He didn't know when he fell asleep. Only that when he woke, her hand was inches from his face, hovering mid-air as if she'd been studying him. "I wanted to see if humans still dream," she said softly. "We do. And what do you dream of?" He hesitated. "Finding someone who feels real." She smiled then, a small, uncertain thing, and the temperature rose again. "Real is dangerous, Commander. So is loneliness." Her laugh came out like the ring of crystal. "You speak like you've carried it a long time." He didn't answer. She saw the truth in his silence anyway. And for the first time since their meeting, the energy around her softened, less flame and more warmth. Then came the sound, a low thrumming from outside, mechanical, deliberate. Arlen jumped to his feet. "Rescue?" Lyara's glow dimmed to a faint ember. "No. Hunters." "Who?" "My people's inheritors." They believe I am a weapon that must never awaken again. Her words barely left her lips before a beam of light swept across the temple entrance. Stay behind me, he said. You can't fight them. Maybe not, he replied, drawing his sidearm. But I can buy us time. She reached for him, then stopped herself mid-motion, trembling. If I touch you now. He looked over his shoulder. Then maybe that's exactly what we'll need. Her eyes widened. You don't understand what my heat can do. I'm starting to. Outside, the air screamed as a blast struck the outer wall. Stone rained down around them. Liara's body began to glow brighter, her pulse syncing with the vibrations in the air. Arlen reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't pull away. The instant their skin met, the world went silent. Every grain of dust froze mid-air, lit by the surge between them. His breath caught as energy raced through him, pain and euphoria in equal measure. Her heat didn't burn, it rewrote. He felt her memories, the fall of her cities, the grief of endless isolation, the ache of wanting to touch without destroying. She saw his too, the wars, the empty victories, the loneliness of command. The temple walls melted into light. Arlen, she gasped, the name trembling on her lips. Let go before it's too late. But he couldn't. The connection felt too alive, too necessary. And for one impossible moment, every star in the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then the explosion hit. The blast hurled them apart, shattering the floor beneath their feet. When Arlen opened his eyes, the temple was a crater of fire and dust. Liara lay motionless at the center, her glow fading to a dim pulse. He crawled to her, reaching for her face. Liara. Her eyes opened slowly, light flickering within. You shouldn't have touched me. I know, he whispered. But I had to. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile born between ruin and relief. Then everything changes now. The ground beneath them began to hum, not with heat this time, but with something deeper. Connection. And as the night bled into dawn, Arlen realized the touch that shouldn't have happened might have just awakened a force older than both their worlds. When Arlen opened his eyes, the world was quiet again. Too quiet. Ash drifted through the air like snow. The temple was gone, only fragments of molten stone clinging to the crater's edge. His armor smoked. His pulse pounded against the silence. Liara? He crawled through the debris, ignoring the pain slicing through his ribs. Then he saw her, motionless, glowing faintly, her body half buried in the dust. For a heartbeat, he thought she was gone. But when he brushed the dirt from her face, her chest rose, slow, fragile. The glow beneath her skin pulsed once, then again, stronger. Don't, she murmured weakly, her voice distant. Don't touch me again. He froze, hand hovering above her. You're alive. I told you, what happens when you touch me? Her eyes fluttered open, dim light tracing her irises. The heat feeds. It grows. He looked around. Every fragment of the temple around them shimmered faintly, suspended mid-air, vibrating as if the molecules were waking from a dream. The energy field around her was unstable, pulsing with waves that bent the air. You're losing control, he said. She gave a bitter laugh. You caused it. I saved you. You doomed both of us. They took shelter in the hollow of a collapsed spire, surrounded by blackened vines and the faint hum of unstable gravity. Outside, the crimson moon burned low on the horizon. Liara sat with her knees drawn up, her body trembling as flickers of light raced across her veins. Each pulse carried warmth into the air, enough to fog Arlen's visor. What's happening to you? My heat responds to connection, she said. It's meant to bond, not destroy. But I've been alone too long. My energy's hungry. He removed his helmet, letting the cool air hit his face. Then we'll find a way to control it. She looked up sharply. You think this is something you can fix? I've seen worse. Worse than a being who can burn the atmosphere with a heartbeat. Worse than a being who's given up on herself. Her eyes softened, but only for a moment. You don't understand. When we love, Commander, it changes the matter of the universe. My ancestors turned stars into seeds. They shaped moons with longing. We were never meant to feel lightly. And yet you still dreamt of us, he said. Her breath caught. Yes. Of you. The silence between them was electric. The heat wasn't just power anymore, it was emotion, compressed and alive. He could feel it in the air, the way her pulse aligned with his. Then she flinched, pain flashing across her face. What is it? They've locked onto me, she said. The hunters use quantum scent, they can trace emotional energy. How long before they find us? Minutes. Arlen checked his scanner, which was still flickering erratically from the last surge. Then we move now. He tried to help her up, but her body shuddered under his hand, the air rippling around them. She pulled away, clutching her arms. Don't. The more you care, the stronger it gets. I can't turn that off. Then you'll burn with me. Her voice cracked, not in anger, but in despair. She turned away, pressing her palms to the stone wall. The surface began to melt beneath her touch, light spilling from the cracks. Every emotion I hold is fighting to get out. Fear, desire, pain, it all becomes fire. He moved closer, cautious. Then let it out, but not alone. She looked over her shoulder, eyes glowing brighter. You'd really risk your life for this. For you, he said simply. The words hit her like a current. The air rippled again, brighter, hotter. For a moment, she glowed so fiercely he had to shield his eyes. When the light faded, she was trembling, tears of molten silver streaking her cheeks. No one's ever said that to me, she whispered. Not and meant it. He knelt in front of her. Now someone has. The ground shook. Distant engines screamed overhead, the hunters. Liara pressed a hand against the wall, opening a fissure with a thought. There's a passage below. It leads to the heart of the temple network, the core. It can hide my signal. They descended into the dark, the tunnels breathing with faint bioluminescence. Arlen's hand brushed the wall. The patterns felt alive, veins of light that pulsed when they passed. What is this place? My ancestors built it to balance energy between the two moons. But it became something else. A prison for those who felt too deeply. They walked in silence for a while. Then he said quietly, Liara, when I touched you up there I saw things. Your memories. Her steps faltered. You shouldn't have. I saw your people die. I saw you begging the stars to stay awake. You were alone for centuries. Her voice was small. We called it the stillness. The curse of the last trine. You survived it. Surviving isn't the same as living. He reached out again, not to touch, just to be near. Maybe it can be. For the first time, she didn't flinch from his nearness. At the heart of the chamber, a pool of shimmering energy pulsed softly, like a living heart. This is the core, she said. If I connect to it, I can dampen my signal, but it will draw everything out of me. The heat, the power, even my memories. You'll lose yourself. She nodded. It's the only way to keep them from finding us. Arlen took a step forward. Then I'll help you control it instead. You can't. I already am. Before she could protest, he reached out, clasping her hands in his. The contact hit like a storm, light exploded from their palms, flooding the chamber. The core responded, its pulse sinking to theirs. Liara gasped as energy surged through her veins. Arlen, let go. Not until you trust me. The chamber began to shake. The walls rippled with waves of heat, symbols igniting one by one. Liara's power flared wildly, wrapping them both in a cocoon of golden fire. I can't stop it, she cried. Yes, you can. His voice was steady, even as pain laced through every nerve. You're not alone anymore. She screamed, not from agony, but release. The fire roared, rising higher, devouring the shadows. Then it was gone. Silence. Liara fell into his arms, trembling. Her glow dimmed to a soft, steady light. He looked down, the core was calm again, its pulse synchronized to hers. You did it, he whispered. Her voice was barely audible. No, we did. Outside, the sound of engines grew distant. The hunters had lost her trail. But as calm settled, Arlen noticed something new, faint patterns glowing across his skin, the same molten lines that ran through hers. Liara. Her eyes widened. Oh no. It's begun. What has? The bond, she whispered. You touched my heat. Now it's inside you too. The light between them flared again, softer this time, more like breath than fire. And somewhere in the distance, beneath the crimson moon, the hunters changed course, drawn to a signal now shared between two hearts instead of one. The tunnels shook as they ran. Arlen could feel the pulse under his skin, faint at first, then stronger, beating in time with Lyara's. Every step they took, every breath they shared, seemed to blur the line between them a little more. Above ground, thunder rolled not from weather, but engines. The hunters had found the surface entrance. Lyara stopped at a junction, light spilling from her palms to read the carvings etched into the stone. They've sealed the exit. We'll have to go through the Temple of Mirrors. Doesn't sound friendly. It isn't, she said quietly. It shows us what we fear most. She turned to him then, her face half-lit, half-shadowed. When we pass through, don't look away from me. No matter what you see. The corridor beyond was a lattice of glass and crystal, reflecting 1,000 fractured versions of themselves, human and alien, close and distant, almost touching. The reflections breathed when they did. Arlen tried to steady his focus, but the mirrored light bent reality, showing memories that weren't his. In one reflection, he saw Lyara surrounded by fire, her hands covered in ash. In another, he saw himself standing over a burning planet. She gripped his wrist. Ignore it. The mirrors whispered. You can't save her. She'll burn you alive. You're already one of us. Lyara, he said, voice low, they're showing me things I never did. They're showing what you're capable of, she answered. This place tests resolve. It feeds on the heart. A pulse of light flashed between them, and suddenly he was alone. The tunnel stretched into infinity. Her voice was gone. The air thickened, metallic and cold. Lyara, he shouted. The reflections shifted. Now every mirror showed her, but different. One smiled with cruel serenity. Another reached for him, whispering his name. A third stood covered in energy, eyes blazing white. He drew his sidearm, aiming at the nearest apparition. Where are you? A whisper brushed his ear. Right here. He turned, and the real Lyara stood behind him, breathing hard, her glow dimmed to almost nothing. The mirrors separate our bond, she said. They want to break what we've become. He exhaled, lowering the weapon. Then they'll have to try harder. Together, they pushed forward, forcing their way through the shifting maze. Each reflection flickered and died as they moved, until at last the tunnel opened into a vast chamber beneath a transparent dome. The sky above was filled with ships, black, sleek, and silent. The hunters had arrived. Lyara fell to her knees. They'll destroy this moon to erase me. Arlen helped her up. Then we don't stay. She shook her head. It's too late for running. They've locked onto the bond. If they can't kill me, they'll take you. Then we fight. Against an armada? He met her gaze. I've done worse with less. A faint smile curved her lips. You humans never stop defying extinction, do you? Bad habit. The chamber's core began to rise, its machinery awakening ancient technology that hummed with the same energy as her heartbeat. Symbols lit up along the floor, forming a circle of light. This was built to regulate my kind's power, Lyara said. But if I channel through it now, I could disrupt the fleet. At what cost? Everything I am. He stepped closer. We just found each other. There has to be another way. There isn't. The bond between us, it's spreading. If they capture you, they'll weaponize it. She touched his chest lightly. You gave me something no one else ever did. Choice. Don't take it away now. Before he could answer, the ceiling shattered. A column of white light poured down, cutting the air between them. Arlen threw himself forward, pulling her back just as drones flooded the chamber. Bolts of plasma sliced through the air. He fired back, diving behind a fallen beam. Lyara raised her hands, and a wall of energy flared up, melting incoming fire midair. Go, she shouted. The control nexus is through that arch. I'm not leaving you. You already carry my heat, you'll survive what I can't. He froze. The glow beneath his skin brightened, answering hers. That's not survival, he said. That's losing you. Something in his voice, fierce, quiet, steadied her. The storm around them eased for a heartbeat. She reached out, pressing her palm to his. The energy between them fused, their twin lights becoming one. Then we fight as one, she whispered. They moved like two halves of a single thought. Her power bent the air, his focus guided it. Each step they took unleashed a wave that sent the drones spinning out of orbit. Light exploded through the chamber, scattering shadows like petals in a storm. Above, the fleet began to fracture, ships breaking apart under invisible pressure. Arlen could feel the surge tearing through him, hot and endless. Liara, it's too much. Hold on to me. I am. The floor cracked beneath their feet. The chamber's core pulsed faster, wild and unstable. Then, silence again. The drones froze midair, light crystallized around them. A single pulse of energy rippled outward, expanding across the dome and into the sky. Every ship above them winked out. Liara collapsed into his arms, trembling. It's done. He looked up, the stars were still there, but the crimson moon had dimmed, its color fading to silver. What did you do? I changed its orbit, she whispered. It will draw the hunters away, for now. Her hand slipped from his shoulder. He caught it, holding tight. You're not fading again. I'm not. I'm changing. He saw it then, the light from her body merging with his, patterns spreading until their pulses were indistinguishable. You're becoming part of me, he said. Not part, she corrected softly. Equal. The chamber lights flickered, settling into calm. The war, for now, was over. Arlen held her close, feeling her heartbeat echo inside his own. You said love reshapes the universe, he murmured. She smiled faintly. Seems we just proved it. Outside, the stars shifted in slow arcs, as if bowing to the new orbit of two beings whose connection had rewritten the laws that governed them. And somewhere far beyond the moons, a new signal bloomed, the bond of a human and an alien, glowing together in the dark. The moon hung silent above a silver dawn. The battlefield was still, shards of drone metal drifting like ash across the new light. Arlen lay on the fractured ground, his armor cracked, the glow beneath his skin fading and returning like a heartbeat deciding whether to continue. Liara knelt beside him. Her glow was faint, softer now, like candlelight through fog. She looked less like a being of fire and more like a woman remembering how to be one. It's over, he whispered. For now, she said. Her voice carried that quiet certainty of someone who had seen centuries come and go. But endings never stay still. He smiled, weakly. That's a poetic way to say we're not safe. She smiled back, though it trembled. You learned fast. They moved slowly across the ruined plain toward the temple's edge. The air was cool for the first time since they met. Every step Arlen took, his body felt heavier, denser, like something inside him was turning to light and leaving the rest behind. He stopped. Liara, what's happening to me? She turned, eyes full of both wonder and sorrow. The bond wasn't meant to stay split between two bodies. The energy seeks balance. You mean, it's merging us? Her silence was answer enough. He laughed, though it came out rough. You could have mentioned that earlier. I hoped the universe would spare you, she said softly. But the universe rarely does mercy. Only meaning. She reached up, touching the side of his face. Her palm was warm, steady. You carry my power now. My memories. My heart. If one of us fades, the other will become the echo. That's not much of a choice. No, she agreed. But it's the only one that keeps us whole. They reached the cliff overlooking the horizon. The sun was rising, or what passed for sunrise on this world. Light refracted through the upper atmosphere in bands of gold and violet, setting fire to the clouds. Liara stood there for a long time, silent. Then she said, when my people burned, I thought love was a weakness. That feeling too deeply made us perish faster. Now I know it's the only thing that ever made us real. Arlen stepped beside her. So what happens now? She glanced at the sky. You'll go back. And you? I can't. My form's dissolving already. I'll return to energy, to the weave that holds the stars together. He shook his head. Then I'm not leaving. You have to. You said we're one. We are, she said, smiling through the shimmer of light now rising from her skin. Which means wherever I am, you won't be without me. The glow intensified, filling the air around her. The ground began to hum, the same low vibration that had followed her since the first moment they touched. Arlen's eyes burned, not from the light but from knowing what it meant. Liara. She pressed a hand over his heart. Listen, she whispered. Can you hear it? He did. 2 pulses, sinking into one rhythm. Hers inside his inside hers. You'll carry the heat, she said. But it won't destroy. It will create. Her voice began to scatter, fracturing like starlight. Promise me one thing, Commander. Anything. Remember what we were, not as an accident, but as proof. The universe is vast, but love makes it small enough to hold. Her hand turned to light, then her face, her hair, until only her eyes remained, twin constellations flickering against the wind. Then she was gone. Silence. The cliff beneath him was empty. The air shimmered faintly where she'd stood. He reached out, half expecting to feel heat. Instead, there was warmth, steady, pulsing, from within. He looked down. The lines that had spread across his skin were no longer foreign, they pulsed gently, alive but calm. Her rhythm had settled inside him. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He turned his gaze to the stars, now shifting subtly in their patterns. A new cluster had formed near the horizon, faint but deliberate, like 2 intertwined shapes carved into space itself. Arlen smiled. Still here, he whispered. He began the long walk back to his crash site, following the faint path of glowing footprints left by their heat. When the rescue ship arrived days later, its crew found him standing at the crater's edge, staring at the rising moons. They said the readings around him were impossible, gravitational waves folding in rhythm with his pulse, a signature no human could generate. He didn't argue. He just looked up at the sky, where a faint aurora shimmered in silver and gold, and said quietly, "She's not gone. Just everywhere." Weeks later, as the ship crossed back into known space, the sensors picked up something strange, a pattern woven through the radiation fields, repeating every few hours. A voice, faint but clear, singing through static. Heat remembers. Love endures. We are the ember that never dies. Arlen closed his eyes and smiled. The hum inside his chest answered the song. Outside the viewport, a new star flickered to life, small, steady, and warm, as if the universe itself had paused to remember them. The galaxy moved on. But somewhere between human breath and cosmic flame, they still danced, one heartbeat, stretched across the dark.